toss over, we toss in topics and talk about them. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm so excited. It's another day. I hope you're having a good week because it's a good week. It's spring break. We off this week, just enjoying some time off. I work at the Chick-fil-A, so just enjoying a little time off, I work the one on campus, not the real one. The affiliated one. Today we have here Miss Toma. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Not sure how I got here, but hi.
I dragged her here on my broomstick.
Oh no, that's a whole nother topic.
So I want to take a moment and just tell you guys about this event we're having. It's called Live 2025. We had it last year, Live 2024, but it's 2025. So Live 2025. It's going to be an amazing event. We've made the Live an acronym, which stands for Love, Intercede, Victory, Evangelize. This happens all at one night. Saturday, April 26th at Jubilee World Outreach. We've got hosting Toby Patton and Micah Simley. And then we also have Eric Patton. We have Joshua McAllister. We have Dolly Harvey. And we have music by Tish. Y'all, and if you've been to our events, you know Tish can sing. And she's going to lead us, she going to take us straight to the King. Straight to the King. We're going to be running and screaming and shouting. And hallelujah.
Shabba.
Well, it's a good night. Go register at tossandtalk.org now. Registration is open. General admission is free, but if you want an event T-shirt or an event hoodie, just go on tossandtalk.org to events, and you can sign up right there. That being said, I think I said on the announcements, look at my paper. Yes, everything. I have to look at paper. I may be young, but I still have to make sure I get everything dossed up and tossed up together. Like a salad.
I have to do it, too. I have to remind myself of stuff.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's topic.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm so excited to have you here. You're a very fun person to be around. And we just going to dive in like we're diving into a pool.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it.
Have you already jumped in?
Listen, I stay in the deep end. So. I don't know if that's trouble or the Holy Ghost, but either way.
Maybe it's a little bit of both.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So, with that being said, go ahead and tell the audience and everybody about yourself and just who you are. And
Okay. My name is Toma Moore.
Okay.
I am years old. No. I'm soon to be 55.
Amen.
I am originally from Kingsport, but I've lived in Johnson City for a few decades.
Kingsport stinks.
Yes, it does.
No offense, Mayor of Kingsport, whoever you are.
We love you in Kingsport. Between the Eastman and it used to be the Mead. It's where my father worked for decades. But between the paper plant and the chemical plant, it does have a
smell,
a slight odor.
Slight odor. That's a good word, slight odor.
But to them, it means money. So we just let it go. We just leave it alone. Make your cheddar. Go ahead, y'all. Anyway, originally from Kingsport, from what I affectionately call the area that I come from. It's Lynn Garden. Mm-hmm. But if you're from there, you pronounce it Langgarden. I'm from Langgarden, and so it's probably probably has a lot to do with my attitude. No, but I go to Jubilee. I sing on the worship team, praise team, and I'm not sure what all you want to know from me. I graduated Bible college. I went to a college out in Oklahoma. It's Tulsa County, but it was in Broken Arrow. It was Rhema Bible College. At the time, it was Rhema Bible Training Center, and they've changed all that. But anywho, moved back home after living there almost 3-ish years, and you name it, I've worked it in a church, children's church, worship leader, youth leader.
You've done it all.
All of it. I've done the nursery. I couldn't even think of the word. I've done all kinds of stuff, just trying to be obedient and trying to help out. And here I am with you fine folk. I was recently widowed I say recently, it was 2.5 years ago. might be, well, yeah, 2.5 years ago, and just learning to live a whole different life after almost 19 years of marriage. And I've got 2 boys, 2 teenage boys, a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old. And it's been a roller coaster. Life has been laughing. So
I hear that. So how's like he's losing? How did lose your like? Was your
How did my
sick?
husband pass
How's
away?
how's your husband pass away?
He had been sick. He kept getting pneumonia. And it was during
Pandemic.
COVID. Actually, what was 2020. And he kept losing his breath, and we thought when he was growing up, he had a lot of allergies, and we thought that our home was making him sick because he kept getting pneumonia. But it was heart failure. His body just couldn't get rid of the fluid. It wasn't pumping correctly, and his lungs kept filling with fluid. And he was off work for about a year, and then he got really, really bad sick. And he was in ICU at Johnson City Medical Center for the longest time, and they kept telling me that he was going to die. He was going to die. The doctor, honestly, and this is not a slight to her in any way, but I think she thought that I didn't understand what she was trying to tell me, because when she told me over and over and over again, I didn't break down, and I took it more like information. Okay, now I know what I need to pray about. And she tried to make me understand. It's been weeks. He has not responded. The ventilator is, running on 100%. He cannot breathe on his own. His body's going to start shutting down. You need to prepare yourself. So finally, I said, I understand what you're telling me. You do your job. I'll do mine. And we just stood in faith. The church stood with me. My friends stood with me. Oh, me. Hi. I don't like this. But we just stood on faith, and he woke up. He came out of it. And she admitted to me, she said, I didn't think that I would be talking to both of you like this. And it was a long process. He was in the hospital for about 4 months. And he finally got to come home. And I had a really good year with him. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I had a year with him. And then he just passed in his sleep one morning. And I think God was gracious enough to give me a whole nother year with him. And it was just congestive heart failure. So I think that was what the autopsy said. We thought that it was his just allergies or whatever. He kept getting pneumonia, but it was actually his heart filling up with fluid. So it was just a shock, because we'd prayed him out of that first situation, I thought, well, we've conquered the death part. Now we got to get him through the
healing and
learning how to walk again. And look, because when he came home, he was still boogered up pretty bad. And so we were working on that, working on getting up and moving and getting, he had lost a lot of muscle mass in his legs. He used to be a bodybuilder, so to see his legs get so frail and everything, we were working on that, and he just went to Jesus one morning. It was just his heart just gave out. So it's not fun. It's not how I would have written the story, but it is how it happened. And I have to be thankful for that extra year. I have to be thankful for what God did give us, because it was almost, within days of when he came home versus when he went home for good, And I'll say him again, and he's up there with, listen, lifes. and I'll say that, a lot, and you'll be like, why does she keep saying it? Because it does. And believing in Jesus doesn't make all the ugly stuff go away.
Amen.
It doesn't make, it's so much better than without him, but it doesn't make life perfect. It doesn't make everything rainbows and sunshine, and it'll get you. And if you don't have Jesus, if you don't have that hand, that relationship to lean on, if you don't have his wisdom, if you don't have his presence to get lost in, I don't want to be here without God's presence. I don't want to experience that. I like it, if you're going to face tragedy and triumph and all those things, I want to do it holding hands with Jesus. You know what I mean? So I'll hush now. You didn't ask me all that.
No, that was you gave it a good breakdown. How did that I know it's your faith. Like,
Yeah.
you did, everyone was like, you was like, God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I need you to move, because in these situations, like, it's very tough. We're in and that's where you said this in the middle of the pandemic. So the pandemic is happening. Everything's kind of like shut down. And like, what was like home? Like what was your family? Like, what was everybody saying? Like,
he dealt with a lot of anxiety, and I hate to, when I say something like that, that is not a besmirch. Some people think about mental health issues like something to, whisper about, and we don't really talk about that. But health issues like mental health is just like, if you broke your foot, you wouldn't be ashamed to tell anybody. If you have diabetes, I mean, you might, nobody says, well, shame on you for taking that insulin, or whatever, or that metformin or whatever. But when we have mental health issues, which could be hormone issues, it could just be an imbalance of something, whatever it is, your mind is just as important as your arm, your stomach, whatever, your foot. So we need to learn to not shame people, especially the church. We've called everything a demon.
yes.
I believe in spiritual warfare. I believe in taking authority over I believe there's demons. I believe there's a spirit of infirmity that can make people sick. I understand what the word says about stuff like that. But there is not a demon hiding behind every bush, every chair, and sometimes we act like it, and we claim every bit of depression is a demon, that every, low time we have in life is a demon. It's not. It's part of life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a nap and a snack.
That's life. You need a nap
That's how
and a
God
snack.
dealt with it with his prophet. He was like, you need to lay down somewhere. I'll talk to you in a minute. So we need to take care of the whole person. Yeah. And we need to realize that there are mental health issues, and he was dealing with some anxiety. You have to watch me. I rabbit trail real easy. Okay. You have to just grab me and say, well, no, what were we talking about? But he was dealing with anxiety, and he didn't want anybody in the house. And my friends were trying to help me. I have the most amazing friends. I mean, people that I've not seen in years came to help. Just helped me get my house straight. There was issues with, work that needed to be done, like plumbing, all kinds of fun stuff that home ownership comes with. And, here he was going on disability now, and our whole financial world was upended. It was just a whole different kind of life. And you're afraid, you're unsure, and you're still talking to God like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know exactly where we're headed with this, but I don't like it. But I tried my best to keep everything in order. My friends were trying to help. And it was kind of hard for me, just the social aspects of it. And then on the other hand, it's so easy to isolate yourself and not want to leave the house and blame it on the pandemic. Well, I can't come. We don't want to get sick. We don't want to take something into the house and kill Wesley, stuff like that. So I I realize now that the isolation made it worse
Yeah.
for me because I kept trying to fix everything myself. I have learned a lot of lessons. I've learned so much about not reaching out and being ashamed of your situation. And some of that comes from church and the whole faith message, which I love the faith message. Don't get me wrong. I believe in the authority of the Christian. I believe we have authority in the name of Jesus. I believe we have the power of the blood. I believe in hey. I believe in speaking blessings over your life. I believe in all of it.
Yeah.
But what I don't believe in is the condemnation that can come around the backside of it. If you don't understand that life is still life, you are gonna have triumphs, and then 2 seconds later you can have a tragedy, and you don't blame it on, I didn't pray enough, I didn't confess the right thing, I said the wrong, let me think about what all I said and eat myself up and beat myself up because I didn't stand on faith enough. And I've done a lot of that, like I'm not where I should be, or maybe the devil tries to get you to chew yourself alive.
Yeah.
And
he didn't put us in a perfect body.
Nobody's perfect. Nobody's
fake.
No, he's not trying to, and he is not trying to help anybody stand on faith. I think some of it was just with me. I know some of it was just a lack of maturity. Yeah. It was isolation. It was shame. It was all the fun things. And
the things that come with this walk.
But look how God still stuck with me and walked me out of it. And my husband is healed. He is whole. We've got some babies up there that I never got to meet. And he is up there with, he got to meet them before I did. So, and I'm the one that had them in my body. But he's up there probably fishing. Eating at that table that never ends. And so, but, I've got a lot of family up there. I've got friends up there. And heaven's just sweeter. But if you want to look at it and you want to get bitter, the devil's going to give you every chance to... This faith stuff doesn't work, and why would God heal him and get him out of ICU? And then a year later, listen, I've asked every question, and I've mulled. I have one of those brains. I don't know if y'all know what a VCR is, you youngins, but my brain is like a tape that you just stop and rewind, back it up and do it again, back it up. And I go over things. I analyze from every direction, everything in my life. And sometimes that's too much. And you have to put yourself on the worship altar and say, I'm tired of running this over and over and over and over. I'm laying this down. This one's too big for my pay grade.
Yeah, my pay grade.
My pay grade is not high enough to figure this one out. The secret thing belongs to the Lord. And I got to just get busy in the kingdom. The Lord's my husband now, again. And so
that's all right. He'll keep you.
That's
He'll
it.
Bless you.
He's got a good job. He'll take care of me.
Yeah, he will.
Next.
One of the things, I think that especially the church, like you said about the mental health, they think everything is a demon.
Oh gosh,
they think mental health is a group of goblins come to suck the whole world apart. And it's just do you not realize that God said we would have troubles, and this is the part of life.
Yes.
He didn't say we're gonna have all these perfect things.
Right.
And it's the same thing people that's in the world. They say your God did this to you. Your God let your husband die. Your God did. But no. God said He will be there. He said He'll be there when times get rough.
That's right.
He said He'll walk you through the fire as He's gonna be blazed.
Jesus promised us trouble in this life. Now people in the faith, we don't want to hear that. Now
I want to preach that.
We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about what do you do when you have 3 miscarriages and you're hitting 40, you're headed toward 40 like a bullet train. They don't, we don't want to talk about what happens if you're having trouble paying your mortgage, or what happens when your husband gets sick and he's the main provider? What happens when the first child you have ends up having special needs? He comes out perfect and then he suffers hydrocephalus and some brain damage. And what happens when autism is in one of your kids and you're a woman of the hour with faith and power, and you end up being the woman of the hour with paste and flour? You know, you end up going through some stuff that you did not order when you signed up for Bible college, and you signed up for Jesus on the altar when you were 12, and you know, when you signed up and told the Lord, I will serve you all the days of my life, and no matter what. Well, you didn't realize he was going to call you out on that no matter what part. And we get, sometimes we get indignant. But you know what? A lot of it is not just indignant. It's, you get heartbroken. Did you know that you can be a Christian and your heart be broken?
Yes.
And sometimes you think God's the one that did it. And you have to go through a conversation with him that you don't want to go through. And but there's something about intimacy with him that allows you to. Yeah. And you know, people, I've read the story of Job, and I've read about him losing everything and losing his kids and having boils on, and him not questioning. And I'm like, well, that is not my name. My name is Toma, not Job, and I got questions. So, but when you are heartbroken and you feel like, God, I sincerely don't understand. I have done everything, legitimately tried to do everything you've ever asked of me. I left my family to go to a school I'd never even seen or heard the director. I've never heard of the guy that started the school. I did all this, and I've truly believed I've been taught that you are a way maker, a healer, that you're there in every bit of trouble, that you know, we're supposed to come boldly, and so I sincerely don't understand what is going on. And instead of being mad at me for asking, he has met me every time with grace. Now, I'm not suggesting to anybody to get up in God's face and shake your fist. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that.
Listen carefully. That's Irish. We don't listen.
The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom.
Amen.
But there is a part of your relationship where you can sincerely ask him a very honest question. He's a really big God, and he doesn't get intimidated by us, even when we're throwing fits. Amen. He does not, shockingly, he does not, when you come to him and ask him something that other people might, easy now. Don't get in God's face. Well, you know what? I've been taught that he's my best friend, that he is a loving father, that and if I've got questions, I'd rather go ask him sincerely, with respect, than I would go ask the devil, because you know what he's going to tell me. He let you down. Mm-mm. He's rejected you. He lied to you. Well, that's the same thing he did in the garden. That's how we got here in this mess in the first place, is listening to the enemy. So it's okay to ask God the hard questions. He's a big guy. He's very mature. He can handle it. And he has always been kind to me, always been gracious. I trust him. I've learned that I can trust him. So
that's part of relationship. You get to know his character.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I go through something, like, I know God's character. Yeah. And I'm learning each and every day. I'm 22, so I'm still a little young. I'm a little baby, but as I would say. But I'm getting to know God's character. That, you know, once you get to know him, like, oh, he would never do that to me. Like, he really, like, all he just wants is you. So when you seek him, and if you're still seeking him and you're still angry, even if you're angry with him, you seek him, it's just the fact that you seeked him says it all. He sees the heart. He'll take that, and he just works on your heart. He speaks to you. He talks to you. And sometimes you got to stop blaming the devil for your problems. Like, it ain't the devil's fault that you raggedy. It ain't the devil. Because sometimes
I've been called worse by better.
I'm not calling you. I'm talking about some people in the church.
I'm kidding.
The church, as they would say.
I know, yeah.
Is raggedy and dingy and dusty.
Well, I don't know if you want me to tell this part. I've told
Go
this
for
at
it.
church. My husband and I met. Long story. His father and my father both worked at the stinky place in Kingsport, the mead. Well, it was the mead back then.
The mead.
At the paper company, and now I think it's Domtar.
Oh.
It went to Willamette. Now it's Domtar. It's a paper. They make all the
Oh.
things over there. So, but forever it was the Mead Paper Company, and his father worked there, and my father worked there, and I didn't know that I knew him. That I had played on the playgrounds with him when we were little. Going to the company ball games and stuff like that. But anyway, he was 4 years younger than me, and I was friends with his sister in high school, and I don't remember him a bit more than anything, but. He was an idiot when he was younger, and so when he was a young man, and he got in some trouble. He was a bad boy, and what do good Christian girls like? Bad boys. We like a little bit of a bad boy, a little thug.
Round.
Thug, nasty thug. But anyway, can I say that on here? I don't know if that's okay.
Go for it.
to
This
say.
is real. If them churches got a problem,
But
they can hit
church
the hoop.
girls are the worst.
They got a problem, they can hit the hoot. The hoot's right there at the door.
That's it.
We can just kick them on out.
Yeah. But when I met him again, where like I said, I didn't know I'd met him when I was all that time when we were young. It was at church, and he had moved back up here, and he was living with his sister, who was my best friend, and she'd had us praying for him for forever, like pray for my brother West, and we had a prayer board back then. It was when you had dial-up internet that you heard that noise, and I would get on there at night and see what we're supposed to be praying about on AOL. Anybody know AOL? Anyway, that's how old I am. Anywho, on the prayer board, she had put pray for my brother West. And I was like, oh, I love her heart. I'd never heard anybody called West. I was like, she spelled his name. That's a typo. She spelled his name wrong. But it was West, like the direction. And so he moved back up here and started church and got really involved. I mean, he was tithing from the... I am one of these people. I was never the girl in high school that you knew if I had a crush on you or on anybody. I never... if I liked somebody...
You ain't going around saying,
oh honey, no, I'll die first. I was not going to be embarrassed. I was not going to let anybody know that I liked them. And so I just kind of started. I remember when he came to church, I just started watching him, and I was like, oh, no, Jesus, no. No. I don't need a project, Jesus. No. Well. Oh, well. And... he was just tithing right off the bat and working anything they'd let him work, and he was working the parking lot and cleaning and anything he could do, and I would just see him every once in a while when I went to his sister's house, and I'd just listen to him talk, and he wanted to go with me one night. Honey, that's when they had. Now watch it now. Don't you be yawning on me while I'm
sorry.
pouring it. I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. Back then, they had these things called movie rental stores, like Blockbuster and what was Hollywood Video. And I had to take some of the movies we had watched that night. All the singles would get together, and we met at Carrie's house that night. And I was getting ready to leave. I was going to run by there. And
Carrie Patton?
No, it was Carrie Moore, my sister-in-law.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. It was It was his sister. And he was living with her, and I was just trying to keep my distance. And I was headed out the door. This is a long testimony, I know.
Come on.
I told you, keep an eye on me. But I was headed out the door that night, and he was talking to somebody. I think it was Josh, and Josh that runs the soundboard at church.
McAllister?
No. Anyway.
Josh.
Yes,
Josh,
you know who I'm talking about?
Josh, who runs the media.
Yeah,
center.
media.
Josh.
I can't think of anybody's name right now. I don't even know my own name. I might be a little bit nervous. But anyway,
all right.
I think he was talking to Josh. I think they were getting ready to go. I don't know, but I came out on the porch. I have a reason for telling this. I came out on the porch, and I was like, I've got to go take these back, and I'll see y'all in church tomorrow or whatever. And here he come busting out of Josh's car door. Where are you going? And I knew right then, I'm taking these videos back. Well, I'm going with you, but that means I'll have to come all the way back here to bring you back. It'll be all right. I got to talk to you. So I knew right then, oh, Jesus, I've done messed up. So I took him, and we drove around all of Johnson City that night, and I finally took him back, and I was like, well, thank God that's over. I'm glad he didn't say anything inappropriate. He was just telling me all his life goals, and I don't know what he was thinking he was doing, but I knew right then there was some kind of spark, but I wasn't going to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So about a year later, after I'd watched him in church and made sure he was truly living the life, I kept an eye on him. Just showed up at my house right around Christmas time, brought me a gift. And I thought, oh, yeah, I got him. But then I wouldn't hear anything for weeks at a time. And he was helping me work out. And he was, helping me train and stuff because I'd had weight loss surgery. We were talking about that earlier. And he was helping me get my body in order and stuff like that. And he was just so bland about it. And I was like, well, maybe I don't have him. But he finally, one night, we were having choir practice. We used to have this huge choir at Jubilee. And we had choir practice, and I got a phone call. And he was like, you want to go to the movies? I just got off work, and I know it's late, but let's go. Reel to Reel used to have a midnight show. And so I just invited people. I didn't know he was asking me out. So I brought people with me. And so after that was over with, he said, okay, look at me. Look me in the eyes. And I said, what? And he said, I'm taking you to Gatlinburg tomorrow. Do not invite anybody else. And so he proposed the next day.
Oh.
Yep. That's how that works. That's how you snatch them.
Sorry. That's not very Christian. I'm sorry.
We went by. They used to have those. They probably still have them. Those drive-through wedding chapels. And he grabbed my hand, and he looked at me, and we were stopped right next to one at the stoplight. And he said, when are you going to go through the drive-through with me? I said, don't mess with me. Don't play with me. I've been praying for a husband, and you're kind of cute, and don't be joking around. He said, no, seriously, when are you going to marry me? And it was so matter of fact. And I was like, when you talk to my dad and my pastors. He said, what? Because he just was not of that persuasion, that generation. I said, when you talk to my pastors and my dad. He said, all right. And he did both. And they all were like, does Toma know? I want to marry Toma. Does Toma know? They all said the same thing at different times. But we got married 2 months later. And, we had a good 19 years. It wasn't all perfect. There were times that I thought, well, I'm going to prison. I'm getting ready to kill him, and it's going down right now. I hope somebody takes care of my kids. But anyway, that's how that happened. But in the middle of all that, said all that to say this. Am I running way too long?
Keep talking.
Are you sure?
Keep going.
Okay. So I had told him. He kept asking me to marry him within those 2 months just to make sure I was serious. I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry you. You talk to my pastors and you talk to my dad. And I think, I was not like, oh my gosh, I just love him so much. I'm just so in love. And he's my Prince Charming. It was just a very peaceful, let's just do it and get it over with because we're old and it's easy to get in trouble, like the kind of trouble you go to hell for. So I said, we got to do marriage counseling because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. To
get married. It's like now that was 19 years ago. It was like $90 if you didn't have marriage counseling. And I'm not spending if I'm going to get a sale. So I was like, let's go do this marriage counseling for 8 weeks and only pay $25 or $30. Now that's how you get married. That's how you, I don't know what you're laughing at, but anyway. Anyway, I told him one night, I was like, I've been told I can't have kids. For all you ladies out there, or actually for you husbands or boyfriends, fiancés, you might come in contact with this with your dearly beloved. I have this syndrome called polycystic ovarian syndrome. And pretty much, I mean, if you listen to the doctors and to the world and how they teach about it, I have lost the metabolic lottery. I have this syndrome where you get a lot of cysts in your ovaries. You have a really bad time with your cycles. It's horrible. They go on for months, or you don't have them for months. And the thing is it just messes up all your hormones. And they assure you that one day you'll be, diabetic and this and that and everything else and heart disease, blah, blah, blah. Main thing is it's the number one leading cause of infertility in the world. And I'd gone through a bunch of tests, and we had in Johnson City, he's passed away now, but we had the number one doctor, like specialist for PCOS and for infertility in Johnson City. Why he was here and not in New York or don't ask me. I don't make those decisions. God love him. But he was right here near JCMC, and I went to him and got that. So during our conversation, I was like, okay, so look, I've been told I can't have kids. Is that going to be he said, first of all, did God tell you that, or did the doctor tell you that? I was like, it wasn't God. But the doctor's kind of smart. But anyway, so he was like, we will buy one if we have to. We will do whatever we need if we need to adopt. If we're going to pray, we're going to have babies. Don't worry about it. If you want babies, we'll have babies. But if you end up not wanting babies, we're not having babies. He was cool. So we made sure that was, taken care of. And 2 years into it, I had a miscarriage. I didn't even know I was pregnant. So when they told me, I thought I was just having a hard time like I've always had. So when they told me it was a baby and that I had lost it, it broke my heart. But also, I'd been told I couldn't get pregnant, so I had I had hope. So we started praying. And it went like every 2 years. Everything in my life, which is a side note, I'm not going to charge you for this, everything in my life has been like in cycles, like 2 years or every 4 years, and I have just mapped it out. I don't know why, but everything in my life goes like a 4-year thing or a 2-year thing. You don't even have to remember that. But anyway, so 2 years later, I got pregnant again, and I was 35, I believe, at that time. And anybody that knows, the older a woman gets, the harder it is to have a baby. 37 is usually the cutoff. That's when they start calling you geriatric, is when you hit 37. And when we hear geriatric, we hear 93 in a old folks home. So that was an insult to me. But anyway, I had another miscarriage. I'd gotten almost to 12 weeks. I was working at Children's Services. I worked at Children's Services for over a decade. And that was kind of hard, watching all these people who you're taking care of their kids that they have burnt with cigarettes, that they've molested, that they've abused, that they've, got hooked on drugs and neglected them, starved them. You are taking care of these babies, and these people keep having babies, and you can let it mess with your head. So, like, wait a minute, why can these meth heads and these heroin addicts, and I was just crackhead, you think a lot of ugly. I'm just being real, and if anybody else wants to be real with me, welcome. But you start thinking, why are these people able to have babies and I'm not? And so it was 11 and a half weeks, and I had a miscarriage. The day that I had a visit with a couple that had killed their baby. And they had other babies that they were now having to be supervised to see until everything was okay. So I got over that. I was like, okay, I trust you, Lord. I don't like it. This is gross. Hurts my heart. But we're going to just keep believing you. 2 years goes by, and I get pregnant again. Woo, this is the time, because Lord knows Jesus would not let me have a third miscarriage. There's no way God would let that happen. So I got almost to 12 weeks again, because I don't know if guys know this, but a lot of times women will wait until the 12th week to tell if they're pregnant. They won't let their friends and family know, because usually after 12 weeks, I'm not saying you're always good, because Lord, tragedies happen, but the percentage of miscarriage goes down after 12 weeks. So I would get real close to that 12 weeks, and I was holding my breath, and here I miscarried. And that third one, me and Jesus had beef. And I was trying not to have beef with him. I was trying so hard, because here I am, a spirit-filled, tongue-talking, pew-jumping, Bible-thumping, devil-stomping, you know what I'm saying? Been to the Faith Bible College that nobody can understand how faith this school is. You know what I'm saying? So I have lived for Jesus. When I was a teenager, I was traveling and singing for Jesus and laying hands on people and telling them how good he is, and I was getting people healed and, you know, just doing all this stuff for Jesus. And here I am, 38 or 39. No, I was 39 at this point. And here I am having my third miscarriage after I had spoke it and prayed and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was working at Transit. You remember. And I went back to, I had, you know, a week off because I had to have surgery. And to make a long story even longer, I came back to work. I was driving over at ETSU on the buck stop. And at that time, I don't think they still use them, but at that time I was in a trolley, one of those red trolleys, and I would drive the route around college. I was the blue route. And nobody ever gets on the first round. You get over there, you do the first round with the bus empty, and you come back. And I was sitting there waiting to take off. It's pitch dark outside. I was in the parking lot that I was in a week ago when I started miscarrying. And I was just trying to be I was trying so hard to pray and just thank God for still, you know, loving, just trying to praise him and just trying not to think about it. And I was just, God, I love you. I don't understand what's going on. I trust you. I know that you have to have a reason for this. And the more I talked, this heartache, this grief, and I understand also that I was full of pregnancy hormones, and they were leaving my body as fast as they could, because just because you've had a miscarriage doesn't mean the hormones have left yet. I didn't understand that the first time, that you could test 2 or 3 weeks later and still have pregnancy hormones. And it could really mess you up. But anyway, I understand hormones affect how you act a lot. But I was praying, trying to be a good girl for Jesus, for God. And I just started crying. And this wealth of heartache, grief, and it wasn't just that I'd lost my third baby. It was grief of, where were you? Where were you? I truly believe that you're supposed to be here. Why did you not stop this? I have stood and stood and stood, and I've been promised in your word. And I just started talking to him and all this, and then the anger. I mean, it was this overwhelming came out of me. It was like guile and bitterness and heartache and misunderstanding. And I was just like, do you not remember me standing over there a week ago begging you for the life of my baby? Do you not remember all the times I've told people how good you are and how awesome you are and what a loving God you are? And do you not remember any of this? Like, I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be ugly. I was yelling, but I didn't realize I was yelling. Of course, my whisper is a yell, but that's a whole different topic. Anyway, I was just tears. It was just nothing but I was puking tears. And I got quiet. Finally, it was like everything came out. And then I was like, oh God, what did I just do? You know, the fear of God hit me. The real fear, like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be ugly. I promise you I didn't mean to be ugly. I don't even know where half of that came from, and I'm very, very sorry. And he didn't smite me. He didn't curse me. He didn't reject me. The sweetness of God came in that little trolley that, you know, and I'm here by myself, and I clean up my face and, you know, blow my nose and get myself straight. And I could almost audibly hear him say, listen to every word I tell you from now on. Which kind of means to me that I hadn't listened to every word he told me in the past. But within a month, I was pregnant. And I knew. I was afraid to tell everybody. Not afraid, but I was like, I didn't want to tell people because I knew like, why are you putting yourself through this again? What are you doing? And, but I knew he was going to stay. And 2 months, it was a really rough pregnancy. I was hospitalized for at least a month at the end of it. Weston was weeks and weeks and weeks early. He had to go to NICU. I didn't even know that was coming. I thought, you know, if he's breathing when he comes out, then you're good. But I had to go to NICU. I had just all kind of stuff happen. And so we kept him home since he was early. We kept him home a couple of months without, you know, going out. And one night my husband came home from work and he was like, we're going out. I'm getting you out of this house. You're driving me crazy and you're driving him crazy. I was like, thanks, sweetie. You're so sweet. So we went to Books A Million just to get a coffee. It wasn't anything, you know, fancy. Went to Books A Million. You know, they've got all those chairs and everybody's been sitting there reading books and they just stack them. And somewhere in there, in my pregnancy, the Lord I knew I was going to call him Weston after his dad, West. And I knew my dad was getting ready to die. My dad had colon cancer and he was getting ready to pass away. So I was going to name him Weston Thomas Moore. It's already figured out. I knew that for years. Because Dad was sick for years. And so the Lord somewhere in there had said, name him Zechariah. Now, if you know me and you know where I went to school, you check names to see what they mean. But it's like he blinded me to it. Because I have checked it. Listen, I have checked every name in my family. When we had nieces and nephews, the mom and dad would call me and say, what does this name mean? We need to know. But I forgot. I checked out the book of Zechariah, but I didn't.
Look at the meaning.
Yeah. And I don't know what got into me other than the Lord he's tricky sometimes. So we're sitting down at Books A Million, and I look over I've got my coffee and my kids right here, my miracle babies in front of me, and I look over, and the very top book in the stack is a baby name book, and I went, oh, sweet baby Jesus. I was like, oh, no, Wesley. He said, what? I said, I didn't check to see what Zechariah means. So I picked up that book, and I was like, if I find out my kid's name is Knucklehead in the Greek, we're going straight to the name-changing office Monday morning. So I open it up, and Zechariah means the Lord remembers.
My Lord. Somebody should be shouting in their room.
I'm trying to tell you.
Speaking in their Oba Shamba Dama.
Listen, came in a Honda, left in a Mitsubishi. Listen, I sat there in the Books A Million, and I had a Pentecostal, Baptist-costal fit. I cried. I was like, I hear you. I hear you. He said, listen to every word I say, and I hear you. You are tricky, but I hear you. And how smooth is he that he didn't answer me right then when I was like, do you not remember? That's how slick he is.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, no, I'll tell you when I want to tell you. And he remembers every little thing. And so, yeah, I've still had moments after that. As much as I have seen him work in my life, we all get stupid and we all forget. I don't know what's wrong with us, but we forget. the most faith-filled people can have those times where they're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, where are you?
But we don't talk about this in the church.
Oh, no, we
'Cause
don't.
always like, your season's coming.
Yo!
Your blessing's coming. It's time. It's time. Wake up. Wake
Yeah.
up. It's time. It's time.
We don't talk about, how all the apostles were killed for the faith. We
Well.
don't talk about, we overcome by the blood and
of our testimony.
the word of our testimony. But they don't do that last line, and loving not our lives even
Well.
unto death. And sometimes death is a divorce
Well,
or a lost child. You could be sitting there reading your Bible and somebody walk in your house and say, I am so sorry. Your child just got hit outside. I have friends that have lost babies, have lost their, I don't even know how you I know God helps. Friends who have lost their kids like that they've raised and life be lifing.
be lifing.
And
the very end.
even to Christians.
Yeah.
There
Especially the Christians.
Especially to Christians. And then we try to act like God didn't show up. And he's always there. It's just you got to recognize him. You got to recognize his presence, even when it's ugly.
Because it's going to get ugly.
It's going to get ugly. Yeah, and I love the faith movement. Oh, my gosh, I love speaking the word. I believe our words have life. They have power. And life and death are in the power of the tongue. I believe it. I believe in speaking blessings over my kids. I believe in all that. But it doesn't mean that ugly stuff ain't going to show up. It's whose hand you're going to hold while you walk through it. I'm a hush now.
Whose hand you going to hold when you walk through
Whose
it?
hand you going to hold? That's the
Because
truth.
I heard this quote, you have a choice. Everything you do in your life is choice. You're either choosing to serve the enemy or you choosing to serve the
You're going
kingdom
to have
of
to
God.
serve somebody.
Oh, but who you serving? I'd rather bow down to Jesus than the enemy.
Listen, I'd rather serve Jesus, even with all my questions and all.
Even if I have no arm, no leg, and this eye's missing, I'm going to still keep serving.
That's all I'm
Because I know I'm
saying.
going to get a new body.
That's all I'm saying. At some point, you get to the point, and it doesn't. Natural physical age doesn't mean you get smart. You do go through stuff, and you learn a few lessons. Hopefully, you learn. But some people are stubborn, and they're hard-headed. Bible calls them stiff-necked. I don't want to be stiff-necked. I don't want to be hard-headed. I want to be gentle. Oh, that's a big prayer everybody should pray for me.
Gentle.
I want to be submissive to God.
Amen.
No matter what. Because I know, and it's not just like the reward. I'm not talking about just a reward aspect, but being with him is so much better, so much more peaceful, there's so many choices I made in my life just over temporary nonsense that, man, if I just sought God, and I would hope that somebody would learn from my triumphs, but from my tragedies.
Amen.
I've always told God, everybody prays that prayer, Lord, if you get me out of this, I promise I will never, ever, ever do it again. But I've had those prayers where I'm like, God, if you can use this, whatever this is, whatever this mess I've made, because let's be real, a lot of the messes, 90-some% of the messes we are in is our fault. It's decisions we made. Now there is that time where the devil comes attacking. He's mad at what you have figured out, and he's trying to stop you. Those things are real, and you have to. But a lot of times you're in debt because you had no self-control with your spending, or you're in. Sometimes you're a little bit chunky because you were not in control of your exercise and how you were eating. Sometimes.
Cookie Monster's an example.
Ew. Ooh, do we have cookies? No. All I heard was cookie. But
On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.